Okay, so we're about 2 minutes after the scheduled time, so I'm going to start. As I just said, a few of you might have not heard this, but we will be recording this session. So if you're attending on behalf of someone, or if you're watching this presentation and you decide you really want to share it with someone after, we will be sharing the link on our socials and by email, so you'll be able to send this presentation to them. Okay. Before I get started, can everyone hear me okay, and can everyone see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we'll just get going, okay? So the webinar today will be about 30 minutes of me talking, and then we'll have a period for Q&A at the end. So we'll be about 45 minutes in total today, okay? All right, so today's presentation is on internship opportunities in Europe. So thanks so much for joining the webinar. Just a few quick instructions that I'd ask that you follow. So please keep your microphones off. We don't want to pick up any background noise just during the presentation. Sometimes we can hear some stuff going on in the background. We'd like to avoid that today, just that everyone else can hear clearly. Please save any questions for the end. If something comes up during the presentation that you'd like me to answer, please go ahead and just drop it in the chat. And if I see it, I'll try to get back to it. I'll try to get back to you during the presentation. Otherwise, I'll just get back to you during the Q&A at the end, okay? And like I said, at the end of the question, we have about, at the end of the presentation, we have about 10 to 15 minutes reserved for questions. If I can't get back to you in that time, I will get back to each of you by email with a response, okay? Hey, so Jaimee Deschamps, so who am I? I'm a college advisor at Beyond the States. I've been working here for about 2 years at this stage. So while I do work a lot on our student advising for full degree programs in Europe, my background is in internships. So for about 6 years, I've been managing large scale and small scale internship programs. So I've managed cohorts of up to 30 students from UC Davis for internship programs in Barcelona in engineering and tech. I've managed humanitarian internships in Ireland for students from Utah State University. I work with Liberty University as well, and I manage their internship programs in Italy and in Spain. So I do have quite a bit of experience in internships, not only for American students, but for European students as well. So I have quite a bit of experience working with students who are already enrolled in European colleges, who are part of the Erasmus program. So I will explain that to you guys a little bit later in the presentation, but I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about who I am and why I decided to speak to you guys about this today. Okay, so I just wanted to share a lot of my experiences with you. I know that this is something that comes up quite a bit. A lot of you guys are interested in internship opportunities in Europe, but you don't really know how it works. So I wanted to help demystify that a little bit today, okay? All right, so why consider an internship in Europe? So people consider internships in Europe for a lot of different reasons. Gaining global work experience is one of them. So getting to go work in Europe will give you a chance to explore a different working culture, a different way of life. It'll open your eyes and your mind to a lot of different things. Some people like to do it for the international professional network. So when you're going to Europe or to any country really to do an internship, you're going to be widening your net of contacts quite a bit. So working outside of the town that you've lived in, went to school in, and going to a different country, you're going to meet a lot of different people, not just people from the country that you're interning in, but you're going to have other international people from different countries as well. So you'll be building connections, building an international global network, which is fantastic because you never know what can come from that in the future. Experience different cultures and languages. So some students actually, they go to different countries, not just for like a work experience, and the work experience might even be secondary. They might be trying to immerse themselves in a new language and, putting themselves in a working environment. And this, I've seen students go work in a cafe in Spain for an internship, just that they can get their Spanish level, up to scratch while experiencing a different culture as well. So that's another reason why some people might be going to do internships. And of course, boosting your resume for future global careers. So every experience counts. Some students might be going to get a really good internship so they can get this work experience that's super important to their degree and to their future career paths. So there's a lot of different reasons why you can be considering internships abroad. They're all valid, they're all good. So yeah, we can get into that a little bit more. Okay, so different types of internships in Europe. I just do want to keep in mind that this presentation today is definitely catered towards US students, either students who are currently based in the US looking to go for an internship program, or US students who are attending a European college who might be interested in opportunities from there. Okay, so this is really geared towards US students. Just so you're aware. So when I'm talking about the types of internships in Europe, I am talking about the types of internships that are available to American students, okay? Okay, so the first type, this is probably the most popular type of student that I work with, so would be summer internships. So summer internships are usually 8 to 12 weeks in duration, and they take place between May and August. You might find some internship programs that are 1 month to 6 weeks, but I always recommend that you commit at least 2 months, okay? It's a long way to travel, it's a long way to go. Anything less than 8 weeks as well, you might not have enough experience at that company to start doing things of value. So the longer that you're in these companies, the more tasks they're gonna trust you with, the more like proper experience you're gonna get. So we usually do recommend anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks in the summer. These types of programs are open to students from the US that are aged 18 and over, regardless of university enrollment. So you could have just graduated from high school. You could be doing community college, you could be doing some kind of technical course, and you might think you want to go to Europe for the summer to get a little bit of work experience. So these summer internships are perfect for you, okay? With these ones as well, there's no requirement to be enrolled in a European university. Funding. So some internships do offer stipends, housing support, but fully paid opportunities are less common. Some stipends as well that I've seen companies offer would be public transportation cards, maybe a little bit of pocket money, meals included. Like I said, some of them provide housing, but I wouldn't be counting on that. A lot of these internship programs, unfortunately, are unpaid, and you're going to be going there usually paying yourself your accommodation, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind if this is something that you want to do. It is quite difficult to find a fully paid internship in Europe. Like I said, many of them are unpaid due to European labor laws and visas that you would be able to get to do these. So typical fields for these types of internships would be business, finance, marketing, engineering, hospitality, and research. Fields that are uncommon to find internships in Europe would be anything related to medicine or anything that requires licensure. So it's very difficult to go into another country and do an internship, especially one that's only 8 to 12 weeks in anything that requires licensure. There's a lot of strict laws and regulations in Europe around working with patients or working with vulnerable people. So a lot of these internships are restricted to more business environments, tourism, hospitality, things like that. Okay, visa considerations. So US students can stay in the Schengen zone for up to 90 days without a visa, which usually covers most summer internships. So there are some exceptions to this, but most countries you'll be able to go and do an internship up to 90 days in a European country. The UK, now that they're no longer part of the EU, is starting to require short-term work visas. So that's something that they're slowly rolling out. So just, if the UK is something that you're interested in, that's just something you'll have to keep an eye out for, is when they're going to start implementing this. And this is quite new as well, so this came into effect about a year ago, but Spanish programs are now starting to require a NIA, which is kind of like a social security number for an American student to go do an internship in Spain. The process itself to get the NIA is quite lengthy. I mean, it can take up to a month. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever lived in Spain. You would understand this if you have, but getting the NIA is very frustrating. So I'm noticing less and less interest in Spanish programs, because you might need to go to Spain for a full month just to get this process, get this social security number before you can even start the internship. So just something to think about for Spain, okay? So these summer internships are best for students who are looking for short-term international work experience without a long-term commitment. Something to do for the summer as well. Go spend your summer in Europe, get a bit of work experience. Why not? A great opportunity. Okay. The next type of internship that's quite popular are gap year internships. So these ones are usually anywhere from 6 to 12 months, and they're usually part of a gap year program, a structured gap year program. What's a gap year program? So usually when students are taking, who are taking a gap year, so they might have finished high school, they want to take a year off to kind of explore options. So they're wondering what they might want to do, so they might take a gap year. The internships, like I said, could be 6 to 12 months because you might be doing 6 months and 6 months. You might try 2 different countries for your internship, or you can do 12-month program in one company. So like I said, these are open to recent high school graduates, college students taking a break, or post-grad. Again, there's no requirement to be enrolled in a university for these. Similar to the last one, so some are paid while others are unpaid. Paid opportunities are more common for the long-term roles. And some organizations offer structured programs with placement fees and living stipends. So there are some companies that take American students specifically for 6-month to 12-month programs where they'll actually house you and feed you while you're working there, which is quite nice. Typical fields for this would be NGO, education, environmental conservation, tech, research, and hospitality. Because these programs are a little bit longer, the visas are usually required, okay? Because these are going to be lasting over the 90-day period, so you will need to get a work visa or a special internship visa for these, depending on the country. Sometimes as well, if you're doing NGO work, you would be classified under a volunteer visa, so it really depends on the area of internship and the country that you've selected. This is really good for students who are taking time off from their studies or who want a longer, more immersive work experience abroad. These programs are also really good for students who might want to try working in a specific field before they commit to a 3 or a 4-year degree studying a specific subject. Okay. And the last type of internship would be Erasmus internships. So these are part of the Erasmus Plus program. These internships are usually anywhere from 2 to 6 months. I have seen some that are shorter. I've seen some Erasmus programs that go for 2 weeks, which in my opinion, there's no point really. I mean, the students don't really take much away from those. They go to a company and they end up just making coffee and scanning documents for 2 weeks. So I think the 2-week ones, I don't know why they're even a thing, but I would definitely suggest to be applying for, at least 2 months if you're going to be doing an Erasmus internship. These are available to students who are currently enrolled at a European university. So you need to first be studying at a European university to qualify for these programs. These are usually fully or partially funded by Erasmus Plus grants. These grants cover living expenses, travel, and sometimes accommodation. So how much funding you're going to get is going to depend on who is writing your grants and submitting them to the European government. So a lot of times these programs, you need to work with a counselor who's based at your university or a private, kind of like an agent counselor. So you'll contact them. If you're doing it through your school, the school will apply for the grant on your behalf. They'll get the money and then they'll disperse it to you, okay? And like I said, it can be enough to cover accommodation. It can be enough to cover some food and some travel costs while you go and do these internships. Like I said, it just depends on who's writing your grant, how much money you're going to get. Typical fields, so I mean, these ones can be a little bit more specific. So research, international relations, business marketing, sustainability, and technology. So these ones are, yeah, like I said, they can be a little bit more specific. Usually if you're getting them through your university, the university will have contacts in different countries for companies that are willing to take you, and they usually have to be related to your area of study because they will be for course credit. So if you're studying international business, you can't go do an internship in tourism. It'll have to be related to your international business degree, right? Visa considerations. So if you're enrolled in an EU university and you have a permanent residence card or a student residence card for that country that's within the European Union, you won't need to get a residence card to go do one in another country. You would need, if you were going to the UK to do your Erasmus program, you would need to get a work visa for that. So usually these internships are still within EU countries. So this is best for, like I said, US students who are already studying in European universities who want a structured, funded internship opportunity. So key internship destinations. So I'm going to go through a few destinations. This is just based on my own personal experience. These aren't the only countries that you can do your internships in, but these are the ones, after 6 years in the industry that I've seen have been the most popular for students and why. Okay, so Ireland and the UK. So Ireland and the UK are really good for finance, business, technology, marketing, media, manufacturing, and tourism internships. So a lot of US multinationals are actually based in Ireland. They're a bit of a tax haven for these US companies. Like the Irish government doesn't seem to charge them very much tax, which is a whole other issue on its own. But because of this, there's a lot of these US based multinationals that are in Ireland. So there is a lot of opportunities for internships, and they love working with American students. They love having American interns because usually they can go back to the States and work for their companies in the US. So they love welcoming students from the US. So UK and Ireland are really popular, like I said, for financial hubs and multinational corporations. Like I said, there's a strong presence of tech startups and established companies. I mean, you have Facebook, you have Meta, you have Google, you have Microsoft, you have Dell, you have Apple, you have all of these industries that are over there. So it's a great opportunity to get a big name internship without a language barrier. So a lot of students might choose England, UK, or Ireland just because there's no language barrier. They won't need to have any extra language to go and work there. They'll be able to go work in English. If you're working in your native tongue, you can usually get a lot more meaningful work experience. You'll be able to attend meetings. You'll be able to do a lot more than if you were also struggling with a language barrier. Some of the bigger cities, London, Dublin, Manchester, Edinburgh. As I said before, the UK does require a temporary work visa, but internships in Ireland can be up to 90 days under a tourist visa. Unless if you're doing the Erasmus program at, let's say, a Dutch university, then you can stay longer in Ireland. Okay, Germany, another big one. So Germany, as you guys probably know, is very popular for the automotive industry, the IT, engineering, and sustainability projects and internships are huge in Germany. So Germany is an economic and global leader in all of those fields that I just named, with a huge emphasis on green energy and sustainability. So there's a lot of opportunities for environmental and engineering, environmental, renewable policy, or anything, automotive. And again, a lot of these big name companies have counterparts in the US. So getting some experience at one of these companies would be a great way to bring it back home. So for Germany, similar to Ireland, internships under 90 days, usually you can get one without any extra visas or work permits or anything. You can usually go in on the tourist visa, which is great. But longer internships do require a type D visa and might even require an internship contract. Okay, so for the longer ones, depending on how long you want to go, you might need an internship contract from your home university in the US signed with the company. So a few things to consider. But as long as it's under 90 days, you can just go and get a little bit of experience there. France and Spain. Super popular for students that want to do anything in hospitality, fashion, arts, tourism, culinary studies. Oh my God, great for culinary students, and some marketing as well. A lot of luxury marketing, fashion brands. You'd be looking at these countries. So Paris, of course, is a fashion capital with huge brand names, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Dior, that tend to offer internships to fashion marketing, fashion business students. And then, for Spain and France as well, there's a huge hospitality and tourism industry. So you have international hotel chains, travel agencies, event management firms, where you can go and get some experience. With these two countries, I will say the language barrier could be an issue in the work environment. So you will need to have a working level of French or of Spanish to be able to work in these countries. It's not always the case, but I've noticed a lot of students in Spain, if they don't have that working level of Spanish, they might be very limited as to what they can actually do in the internship. So it's just important to consider the language when you're looking for internships. So it's a little bit different. If you were studying in France or Spain at an English taught degree, that's fine. But then to go and do an internship in these companies, it's a little bit different. The level of English in France and Spain isn't as high as Germany, for example. So it is required a little bit more to have the local language. Okay, Belgium and Netherlands. These are the last two countries on my list that are popular. So popular industries would be international organizations, NGOs, diplomacy, business, and logistics. So why these countries? I mean, the Netherlands is a global leader in international trade, logistics, finance. They have huge companies, Heineken, Philips, Shell, and Belgium is home to the EU headquarters and international NGOs. So a lot of great opportunities in politics, law, and humanitarian work you'll be able to find in those countries. English is widely spoken in both of these countries as well, which makes it accessible for US students or English speakers without having to have a super high level of proficiency in those languages. I mean, of course, if you can speak those languages, even better, but it won't be as much of an issue as France and Spain, let's say. Okay, so for the Netherlands, internships over 90 days. This 90-day thing keeps coming up. It's pretty common, but you can usually do an internship under 90 days in these countries if you were looking at like a summer internship or something like that. Whereas Belgium, the internships, even if they're shorter, usually do require a work permit. But EU institutions and NGOs actually have separate internship programs in certain industries if you qualify for them with a more simplified visa process for American students, okay? So that's a kind of interesting thing. You know, a lot of these would be, you know, political science, law, or humanitarian work, like I said earlier. So they do have a special kind of program for longer term internships for students that want to come and work in those specific industries. Right. Internship opportunities. So, okay, this is probably a big question I'm sure a lot of you guys have is how do I find these opportunities? So there are a few ways that you can go about it. So there's some internship platforms and resources. So I linked one here. Like I said, we'll be sharing these slides so you guys can have a look at it on your own term. But erasmusintern.org. They tend to play, companies in the EU will advertise positions they have available. They'll upload these on this platform, so you can take a look at what's on there and apply directly into the companies. And then there's other providers that you can use. So we're going to be starting to offer a service where we're going to work one-to-one with students and help you guys find internships in Europe. So you can use a provider like us to help guide you through the process and actually help you source these internships. Other ways that you can do it would be, getting on LinkedIn, following company career pages. So when I say company career pages, if there's a company that you know you like, which you'd really like to intern in, go follow them on LinkedIn, follow them on Instagram, follow them on TikTok. They are starting to recruit students for summer internship programs using social media. So go and follow these companies and see if they advertise any opportunities. University career centers and exchange programs. So if you're currently enrolled in a US university, go check with your study abroad office. They might have resources for internship placements. So as I mentioned earlier, when I work with UC Davis or when I work with Utah State University, I am working with their study abroad office. So students will go to them, say that they want to do an internship, and then their study abroad office will contact me and I'll help the students through the process. So your university might already have resources in place that you don't know about. So if this is something that you want to do for the summer, for a semester, or anything like that, go speak to your career counselors and your study abroad counselors at your university, because they might have some resources for you. They might be able to help you as well. Some of these schools actually help students fund the programs as well. Not much, but they might have a little bit of money, for students that want to actually go and do this. So it's always worth a shot going to ask in your school's office. And then the last option, networking and cold outreach strategies. So reach out to alumni from your school or from your university that are working in Europe. So find them on LinkedIn, find them on your school's alumni page, see if you can reach out to them and see if they know of any internship opportunities for students from your school. You can contact companies directly via LinkedIn. You can attend international job fairs. Your schools might have these, your towns might have these, and companies from Europe might be there other countries as well, you know, not just in Europe or from other continents. They might be there trying to recruit American students to come do summer internships at their companies. A lot of these job fairs are actually online now as well. So take a look if you can find any virtual job fairs. You know, you never know what you can find at these things. So if it's something you want to do, widen the net as much as possible and try, you know, to find as many opportunities as you can. If this is something you want to do as well, you need to start applying about 3 to 6 months in advance due to visa and placement requirements. So when I'm working on, you know, summer internships, I usually receive the applications by March at the latest so that I can start working on the placements for the summer. That gives you enough time to sort out your visa. You know, if you've chosen a country that needs a visa, it gives you enough time to sort that out as well. Okay, application process and requirements. So when you're going to be applying to these internships, if you're not working with an advisor who will guide you through the process, these are just a few tips that I'd like to share with you that you might need. So you need to keep your resumes to 1 page, okay? Don't have them be 3, 4 pages long. You don't need to include every extracurricular you've ever done. It's best to put what's relevant. So any coursework that you've taken, any volunteering, any work experience, like real work experience that you've gotten, especially if it relates to the internship that you're applying for. You can adapt your CV for European standards. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Europass template, but it's you can find this online on, I think it's europass.eu or something like that. We can send it to you guys by email, but it actually has a template that you can fill in with the CV in the European format. Okay, so you just put in it just tells you what to put and where, and that's the European format. When I work with European students, we actually reject CVs that aren't given in the Europass format for internship Erasmus programs. So, you know, it's a very good standard template. Everyone in a European company will recognize it. So take a look at that template and see if you can kind of make something similar to that or use their template. Like I said, emphasize international experience and soft skills. So it's really important to cater your CV to the jobs you're applying for. You know, if you're applying for an IT internship, make sure to list everything that you have experience with that you're able to use. If you're applying for a tourism internship, anything that you've done related to tourism, just make sure to add all of those. But if you're working with an advisor, they'll be able to help you and review your CV and make sure that everything is up to scratch. Common interview processes. So virtual internships, virtual interviews are standard. So usually once, you know, once a company has expressed that they might be interested in your profile, they're going to set up a virtual interview. It could be 1 round, it could be 2 rounds. Okay, so sometimes you might meet with like an HR person and the second time with your direct manager. So just be prepared. You know, you might need to do up to 2 interviews. Some require language proficiency. So like I said before, English or local language. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the CEFR. It's the Common European Framework for Languages. So sometimes they might ask that you have, let's say you wanted to do an internship in France, they might require a B2 level of French. So you would need to go and do this exam and show them your certificate that you're certified at the level that they're asking before they'll consider your profile. So that's just something to think about as well when you're applying for these internships. And cultural fit is often assessed. So in these virtual interviews, it can be a bit of a personality contest as well. So there's a lot of competition for these internships. So they might be looking for your personality as well to see how you're working with the team. Same for any job that you might be applying for in the future as well. So it's very similar to a job interview. Okay, so preparing for your internship. So cultural differences and workplace etiquette. So work culture varies vastly, you know, based on the countries. So in Germany, you have much more formal work culture than you would in the Netherlands, where it's much more casual. I actually had a student, he was a German student, and he came to do an internship in Ireland. And in Ireland, I mean, the work culture is so relaxed, very, very relaxed. Like, you know, you have these IT tech guys wearing tracksuits to work, and it's just, you know, it's very relaxed. And this German guy, God bless him, he came to work in a printing shop in a full suit. You know, he didn't really, I mean, you know, it's better to be overdressed than underdressed, but it was just so sweet because he was so used to this super formal, you know, work environment, and just became into a casual environment dressed like that. It was, he felt a little out of place, but they had a good laugh about it and he ended up having a great time. But just something you might want to check up in advance. Usually the companies will share with you what their dress code is before you come, but it's always a good idea to, you know, maybe do a little bit of research on what the work culture is like there. Again, if you're working with an advisor, they'll be able to guide you on all of this as well, but just something to keep in mind. And importance of understanding cultural norms. So just make sure, like I said, that you understand the culture. It might be always a good idea, you know, if you know that you're starting your internship in June, you might want to go a week earlier just to kind of get to know the country, get to see the culture a little bit in advance before you go into the work environment. Housing and logistics. So housing is super important to find. If your company isn't providing you with housing, you'll need to find this on your own. If you are going to study in the summer, I suggest to look at student residences. So these student residences usually open up rooms for internship students, language study students for the summer for short-term leases. So if you're doing a summer internship, take a look at the student housing residences that are available nearby, okay? Look for short-term rentals as well, so you can go and join Facebook groups like American students in Amsterdam, international students in Paris, and just see if there's any housing available. In the summer, there's usually a lot more available. As the students who are there during the school year tend to go home, so summer internships is usually a little bit easier to find accommodation. But yeah, definitely something you'll want to look at as soon as you know that your internship is secured. Set up banking and transportation before arrival. So you might want to open up a bank account in the country that you're going to be staying in. If it's an unpaid internship, you're usually going to be fine with your US bank account, but just make sure that you let the bank know that you'll be traveling, and make sure that you get a PIN on your card before you come to Europe as well. All of the cards require PINs, so it's just important that you get that set up and that you know what it is. Transportation as well. I mean, it's quite uncommon that students will rent cars, but you might want to do that if you're doing, I don't know, maybe an agriculture internship in the countryside. So if that's something that you want to do, make sure that you take a look at what your options are before you come. Making the most of your experience. So as I said at the very beginning of the presentation, you know, connecting with colleagues and professionals is great for career growth. So, you know, make sure that you're connecting, you're adding everyone on LinkedIn, everyone that you meet, make sure that you're keeping a connection with them online somehow. Okay, use LinkedIn to your advantage when you're doing these internships. It's super widely used in Europe. So just make sure that that's up to date and that you're adding everyone you ever meet on LinkedIn, because you never know what's going to come in the future of these connections that you're making. Like I said, join expat and international student groups. So even though you're doing an internship, you're not technically like studying, it's still nice to meet other international students who are your age. So join these groups on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on wherever you can find them, just so you have a bit of a community when you're there as well. Transitioning from internship to full-time opportunities. So like I said, so transitioning from internship to full-time opportunities. If you're there on a summer internship, there might be opportunities to stay on. I have seen it happen where companies have offered part-time remote roles for students who go back to the US. So, you know, it's important that you do your best when you're there. I've seen companies offer US students jobs as well, you know, especially if you're not going back to a degree or anything. And I have seen students come back after they finish their degree, come back to the company that they interned with to actually, you know, have a job there. So, you know, my best tips for that is to really just do your best while you're there, work hard, connect with the right people. You'll have a better chance of getting, you know, offered a job. It's a big deal for, you know, European companies to offer US students jobs because they have to absorb the cost of your visa. So you really have to show your value, okay? Make sure that, you know, they see how hard of a worker you are if it's something that you want to do. And if, you know, this particular internship doesn't turn into a full-time role, like I said, it might in the future. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen after the 3-month internship. Okay, so final tips. So visa restrictions, like I said, might limit opportunities for paid internships. Housing and cost of living varies widely by country, so make sure that you're budgeting accordingly. As we said before, language barriers do exist, even though some internships are in English, just something to keep in mind. Be flexible with destinations and industries to increase your opportunities. So I always say this to my students, make sure to keep a super open mind. You know, the more things that you're open to and interested in, the more opportunities you might have. If you're working with an advisor, listen to them. You know, if they suggest something, it's usually for a reason. So make sure that, you know, you're paying attention to their suggestions and recommendations. Research country-specific work regulations before you commit or sign anything. Make sure that, you know, you're doing this, you know, legally and properly before you commit to any internship. Make sure, like I said, you're setting expectations. So some students might come to their internship and they might be expecting to run the company. Just keep in mind, you know, you're very junior. You usually need to start at the bottom, you know, so you might start with a little bit of admin tasks. You need to get to know the company, get to know your colleagues, and eventually, I promise you, if you show that you're able to do the work, that you're responsible, and that you're trustworthy, your opportunities will increase. They will give you more trust. They will give you more opportunities to take on more serious tasks. And take advantage of Europe's travel network while you're there. So you'll have weekends off. There's a lot of bank holidays in Europe, so you'll have a lot of time off. So you can take your long weekends and go travel to other countries and cities. Okay, so if you're interested in working with us, if you want to learn more, if you might be interested in working with me specifically to help you on your internship journey, we've recently launched an internship counseling service. And for anyone that attended this webinar today, we're offering $200 off. So with code internship webinar, you can get $200 off that counseling service. And as many of you probably know, we also do college admissions counseling and best fit list services. So if you were interested in more information on that or in working with us on that level, you can use code Passport Ready for $800 off. And these codes are valid. James, would you mind putting in the chat when they're valid until I forgot and I didn't put it in the slide? I think it's April. So if you could, my colleagues are going to put it in the chat because I forgot, but we do have these two codes available for a little while anyway, if you're interested in working with us. Okay. I did go way over time. I'm sorry. I said I'd only talk for half an hour. It's been 40 minutes. So we'll extend the question period a little bit if needed. So if anyone has any questions, please pop them in the chat and I'll get back to you. I see some of you have been putting them in while we go. So just bear with me one moment while I read them. Okay, Bianca, our son is currently studying in Spain, not a US university. He already has a student working visa and the NIA and is looking for a summer internship. Are there any opportunities for students in this situation? Yes, he skipped all of the hard parts. If he already has a student working visa and a NIA, he will have lots of opportunities. It just depends again on his level of Spanish and what he wants to do. But if he is interested in something like that, you can contact me and we can see if we can work together and help you find something for him. Or he can go to the student office at his school and see if there's any opportunities for Erasmus as well. He might be able to get some funding for it through his university or through the European government. Okay, Lucy, are there internship opportunities over the summer for those entering university? Yes, absolutely. The only thing is you need to be 18 years old. So it's a bit more challenging to find internships and to secure housing if you're under 18. So as long as you're 18, you will be able to find something. It just depends on the country, area of study. But yes, you can definitely secure an internship. What are the resume requirements like for high schoolers entering college looking at summer internships? So like I mentioned, you know, in one of the slides, take a look at the Europass template. You can see what they're looking for. And, you know, like I mentioned, make sure to put any relevant work experience, any language skills, and keep the CV to 1 page. Advice for US students looking for internships that aim to convert interns to full-time at the company. So Paige, like I said, you know, it's important that while you're doing the internship that you show your determination and you show your hard work, and it might eventually convert. But there are very few companies that say that the internship is an internship to hire. So you really need to kind of prove yourself when you're there, okay? mentioned you have experience with European students. Do you have any recommendations on where to search for UK or EU internships? Yeah, so like I said, you can work with a counselor or speak with your student office at your school. The international student office at your school is a great resource. They might have contacts already, or you can work with us as well. You can work with me, and I can help you find the internship. Bianca, how do we connect with you for BTS service? So if one of my colleagues would just drop my email in the chat, you can reach out to me directly and I can help you, okay? Lucy, things I've searched for, always ask for your college and college GPA. Yeah, Lucy, that's fine. You're a high school student going into college, so there's going to be internships for you. It just depends on what you find. I would suggest in your case definitely to work with an advisor. They'll have like myself or anyone else. They'll have contacts that know of companies that can take students that aren't in university already. So it might be a good opportunity for you to work with me for that. Okay. Okay, everyone. So that was all the questions. If there's nothing else, I wanted to thank you all for attending this session. I hope it helped a little bit in giving some more information on internships. And like I said, feel free to contact me if you have any further questions or if you're interested in working with me. So thanks so much, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.